The voluntary OTA period is officially in the books for the Dallas Cowboys. And now, the real storylines begin to unfold. From rising names making serious noise to some concerning injury trends that could force this team to pivot in ways no one expected, there's plenty to break down. Let's start with the hottest topic that had Cowboys Nation buzzing, a rumored trade involving Jalen Ramsey. Now let's get one thing straight, it's not happening. The rumor mill exploded a few days ago with talk about Ramsey somehow making his way to Dallas. But when pressed, Cowboys Executive Vice President Stephen Jones didn't hesitate. His response? Sharp, calculated, and legally sound. He plays for the Dolphins. I'm not commenting on him. And that's the smart move. NFL tampering rules are no joke. You talk about another team's player under contract, and you're flirting with fines. So don't let the headlines fool you. Ramsey's not walking through that door at the Star in Frisco. At least not right now. But what does raise eyebrows is the Cowboys making some cap space moves. Something could be brewing. Maybe not this week, maybe not next, but the table's being set for a move down the line. And based on how this front office operates, they like to strike when no one's looking. Now let's shift gears to the field. Because week 3 of OTAs delivered a few eye-opening moments. According to multiple on-site reports, including one from Nick Harris of the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, the energy was different. CeeDee Lamb was off to the side that day, which opened the door for a new target to shine. And that target? George Pickens. Dak Prescott hit Pickens on a red zone sideline throw that showed exactly why the Cowboys were excited about his arrival. Pickens extended fully, tapped those toes, and secured a highlight reel catch. If you followed his time in Pittsburgh, this is nothing new. Every time the pads came on, Pickens delivered a moment. Now he's starting to do it in Dallas. This is more than just a flashy catch. It's chemistry in progress. Prescott is learning how to trust Pickens' incredible catch radius, how to place the ball where only George can get it. That's the magic these reps are building. And if this continues, defenses are going to have a serious problem on their hands. But Pickens wasn't the only one making noise. Jalen Tolbert also rose to the occasion, hauling in a red zone touchdown on a laser from Prescott. Tolbert went up over a defender and came down with authority. It was the kind of moment that could change the narrative around him. Because, let's be honest, he's heard the doubt. He knows what's been said. And now, he's fighting to rewrite his story. If Jalen Tolbert keeps proving people wrong, I hope he makes all the critics eat their words, myself included. Because if he's turning the corner, that's nothing but great news for the Dallas Cowboys. But before we get too carried away, let's keep this in perspective. This is OTAS. No contact, no real pressure. Defensive backs don't even have equal rights to the ball in these drills. It's football in name only. A walkthrough environment designed more for install than impact. So while Tolbert's red zone grabs and strong showings are exciting, the real test will come when the pads go on. That's when we'll see what he's really made of. The question isn't just about talent, it's about physicality. Can Tolbert be strong enough to hold his ground on a route? Can he stay on his path when defenders try to jam him at the line or knock him off his depth? Can he block well enough to stay on the field during run plays? That's the side of the game he needs to elevate. There's no denying Tolbert has the tools to be a quality NFL receiver. But this league is unforgiving if you can't play strong. We've seen flashes, but now it's about toughness, about showing he can compete physically and not just finesse his way through practice routes. Once the contact starts, we'll know exactly where he stands. And speaking of contact, quarterback efficiency stats at this stage, take them with a grain of salt. It's not real football yet. That said, one thing did stand out. Red zone efficiency has improved. One of the Cowboys' biggest weaknesses in recent seasons has been capitalizing inside the 20. And this camp period saw encouraging signs in that area. If that trend carries into real game situations, it could be a game changer. Still, the real judgment will come during preseason and joint practices, when live bullets are flying and the guys across from you are playing for their jobs. That's when we'll know if the red zone tweaks are real and if Brian Schottenheimer's offense is really clicking. Now, let's talk about the Joe Milton experiment. Milton unleashed a 44-yard bomb down the right sideline to Jalen Brooks on a free play. Absolutely beautiful placement. Then, in classic gunslinger fashion, he followed it up with a pick six to linebacker DeMarvion Overshone. That's the Joe Milton experience in a nutshell. Big arm, big risk. But here's the thing. He's intriguing. More intriguing than Trey Lance, in fact. Milton isn't just raw talent. He's got the kind of athletic upside that makes you wonder what if. If he can absorb knowledge from Dak Prescott, Brian Schottenheimer, and the coaching staff around him, he might just evolve into something special. The physical tools are there. What's missing is refinement, consistency, and time. Nobody's saying he's ready to lead an NFL offense tomorrow. But if disaster ever strikes and the Cowboys need someone to step in, Milton at least brings excitement. He has a real shot to develop into a capable starter down the road. And in a quarterback-driven league, that kind of upside is worth investing in. Joe Milton continues to be one of the most fascinating stories coming out of Cowboys camp. The physical tools? Off the charts. Cannon for an arm. Athleticism that jumps off the field. But with that comes inconsistency, missed throws, decision-making lapses, and raw mechanics. It's all there. The good, the bad, and the wildly entertaining. And that's the key word with Milton right now. Entertaining. His performance in camp might not spark a legitimate QB1 conversation anytime soon, especially as long as Dak Prescott stays healthy and productive. But Milton's presence alone makes the quarterback room more dynamic. And if he can absorb the lessons around him, he may have a real shot to be something in the future. As for Dak, don't be surprised if he's here longer than some expect. If Dallas can make any kind of postseason run in the next year or two, there's a strong chance the front office sticks with their franchise quarterback for the long haul. Switching gears to the backfield, rookie running back Jaden Blue has been getting meaningful reps with the second team. Meanwhile, veterans Miles Sanders and Javonte Williams are holding down the bulk of the first team work. Blue's showing promise, but he's not ready to push past either of the established names just yet. This feels like more of a long-term development track than a training camp takeover. If Blue does carve out a role in the offense, it'll likely come over time, gradually earning carries through consistency and productivity over the course of the season, not in week one. Still, the early reports from the running back room have been mostly encouraging. Miles Sanders, in particular, has stood out as one of the bright spots in OTAs. He's running with urgency, showing off that trademark burst, and reminding folks why his signing could prove to be a sneaky good move. Sanders has always had the ability to create explosive plays, something this Cowboys offense desperately needs more of. If he can stay healthy and keep that breakaway gear, he could end up being one of the most important pieces in the offensive puzzle. Now, there's an area of concern that's starting to raise some red flags. The safety position. Veterans Donovan Wilson and Malik Hooker have both been in and out of the rehab group. Hooker recently exited practice with a fresh injury, and Wilson is still recovering from off-season knee surgery. These aren't just routine rest days. They're setbacks during a critical install period where competition is being emphasized. And here's the thing. This new-look Cowboys coaching staff isn't operating on legacy, with over 90% of the staff turned over, including a new defensive coordinator. No one's job is safe. If Wilson and Hooker can't stay on the field, younger players like Israel Mukwamu and Wanye Thomas could start gaining real traction. This regime appears fully committed to merit-based decisions. They're not handing out starting spots based on past production. They're looking for the best fits, the hardest workers, and the guys who are showing up every day. Time missed in June might not seem like much, but in a camp where opportunity is everything, it could have long-term consequences. As offseason activities wrap up and the Cowboys head into mandatory OTAs, one thing has become crystal clear. There are no guarantees on this roster. With the exception of London Wells, nearly the entire coaching staff is new. That means no favorites, no legacy picks, and no backroom politics. If you're not producing or not available, you're at risk of losing your spot. This is particularly relevant in the safety room. Donovan Wilson and Malik Hooker continue to miss time, and it's becoming more than a minor concern. They've been unable to consistently participate in full team reps, and that's a problem in a competitive environment where the coaching staff, led by Brian Schottenheimer, is deliberately rotating first-team units to create open competition. The message from this staff is clear. Nothing is handed out. Starting jobs will be earned on the field, not in the film room, and certainly not based on last season's production. Availability is becoming one of the most valuable currencies on this team. With Wilson and Hooker sidelined, depth safeties like Israel Mukwamu and Juanye Thomas are gaining real opportunities to impress. If this continues through camp, don't be surprised if there's a shakeup in the defensive backfield by week 1. One of the biggest positives to emerge during OTAs has been the linebacker core. Reports out of camp have praised the group for its intensity and depth. Kenneth Murray Jr., Jack Sanborn, DeMarvion Overshone, and rookie Shamar James have all been active and impactful. There's growing belief that linebacker might be one of the strongest position groups on the roster heading into the season. Much of that credit belongs to new defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus, who brings a well-known reputation for developing linebackers. So far, he's delivering on that promise. His fingerprints are already visible on this unit's aggressiveness and cohesion. On the defensive line, Solomon Thomas has received consistent praise for his leadership and presence. While full contact has been limited, his professionalism and energy are already leaving an impression. That said, the lack of full contact drills has kept us from seeing much from the trenches, offensive or defensive. Most of what's being evaluated right now is positional understanding, conditioning, and mental sharpness. So we'll have to wait until full pads go on to get a real sense of who's rising in those groups. One name making consistent noise among the defensive backs is Kavontae Elam. He's been mentioned frequently during practice sessions and seems to be standing out as a player to watch heading into training camp. Meanwhile, Sam Williams has progressed from the rehab group into individual drills, an encouraging sign for his recovery timeline. Williams' development will be crucial for Dallas's edge rotation, and every rep counts as he works his way back to full strength. However, one notable absence continues to raise eyebrows: Trevon Diggs. Not only has he been absent from practices, but his limited presence in team media, specifically the promotional content from DallasCowboys.com, has caught attention. It's unclear if this is a minor off-season delay or something more significant, but it's certainly worth monitoring. As for the offense, the battle for RB1 remains unresolved. Miles Sanders has been the most productive back during OTAs, but Javonte Williams, Hunter Luepke, and Jaden Blue are all pushing for roles. That's a position group that will demand attention when the pads come on. Ultimately, OTAs were less about scheme and more about tone, establishing identity, evaluating availability, and seeing which players are dialed in. With mandatory OTAs up next and full training camp on the horizon, the real competition is about to begin. The Cowboys' new regime is sending a clear message: show up, stay healthy, and earn everything.